Do people tell you medieval women never wrote anything important? Do tales say they stayed silent, hidden from history's pen, from the years 500 to 1500? Are you told their voices echo only in whispers, if they spoke at all? Prepare for a journey through the past. Number 1. Myth medieval women only wrote about domestic or religious topics. A common story goes that women in the medieval period kept to quiet homes or convent walls, scribbling only prayers or recipes. The idea paints a picture of lives limited to household chores or spiritual devotions. This thought suggests their minds rarely ventured beyond simple piety or the everyday tasks of a house. It claims they lacked the vision or the training to explore the vast world of ideas. History paints a far different image, one filled with women whose thoughts spanned everything from ancient philosophy to the workings of the universe. Their pens dance across pages, shaping plays, advising kings, and even dissecting medical mysteries. Hrotsvitha of Gandersheim lived in the 10th century, a canoness in a Benedictine abbey in Saxony. She did not just write hymns, she did not merely copy scriptures. Hrotsvitha crafted plays, she wrote comedies. These were not the simple morality plays common in her time. Hrotsvitha modeled her work on the Roman playwright Terence, a daring move for a woman of her era. Her plays feature complex plots, rich dialogue, and strong female characters. One play, Dulcidius, tells the story of Christian virgins facing torture under a Roman governor. The governor, Dulcitius, attempts to assault the maidens in a kitchen, mistaking pots and pans for the women. He covers himself in soot, appearing like a devil. This scene, both dark and absurd, shows Hrotsvitha's sharp wit. Another play, Abraham, describes a hermit who brings his niece, Maria, back from a life of sin. These plays explore themes of faith, temptation, and redemption, but they do so through dramatic narrative, not just simple instruction. Hrotsvitha's writing shows a sophisticated understanding of classical literature and a keen sense of human nature. Her works were performed and studied, proving her plays reached an audience beyond the abbey walls. They were not mere devotional exercises. They were serious works of literary art. Hildegard of Bingen, born in the 11th century, became a leading intellectual voice. She entered a Benedictine monastery at a young age. Her writings were not confined to prayer books. She wrote books on natural history and medicine. Physica explores the natural world, cataloging plants, animals, and stones, and discussing their healing properties. Casse et Cure delves into the causes and cures of diseases, offering insights into human physiology and remedies based on her observations. Hildegard also wrote musical compositions. Her collection of songs, Symphonia Harmoniae Celestium Revelationum, includes a morality play called Ordo Virtutum. This play features characters representing virtues, the soul, and the devil battling for human salvation. Hildegard's work even touched on cosmology. Her visions, recorded in Scivias, describe the structure of the universe, the relationship between God and creation, and the divine plan for humanity. These are not simple domestic concerns. They reveal a mind grappling with the universe's grand questions, with the intricacies of life and death, with the very fabric of existence. She corresponded with popes, emperors, and kings. They sought her advice, a clear sign her insights extended far beyond the cloister. Christine de Pizan lived in the late 14th and early 15th centuries. Her life was rooted in the secular world of the French court. After her husband's death, she became a professional writer, a rare career for any woman in her time. Her writing covered a vast array of subjects. She wrote poetry, often personal and elegiac, reflecting on her widowhood and life's struggles. She also wrote political treatises. The Book of the Deeds and Good Manners of the King, Charles V the Wise, is a biography of the late French king, offering a detailed account of his reign and a model for good governance. The Book of Peace advises future rulers on how to maintain peace and justice. This work provided concrete political advice, drawing lessons from history and philosophy. Christine de Pizan wrote about women's place in society. Her most famous work, The Book of the City of Ladies, defends women against the misogynistic attacks common in literature of her day. In this book, she builds an allegorical city where virtuous women from history and myth can reside. She presents examples of female saints, warriors, scholars, and rulers, showcasing their achievements and intelligence. This was not a domestic guide. It was a powerful argument for women's intellect and worth, a work of profound social and philosophical commentary. She even engaged in literary debates, most notably the Quarrel of the Rose, where she challenged the anti-female sentiments found in the popular poem Roman de la Rose. Her writings shaped political thought and championed women's rights. Herrad of Landsberg, a 12th century abbess, compiled an encyclopedic work known as Hortus Deliciarum, the Garden of Delights. This enormous manuscript was intended for the instruction of the nuns in her abbey. It combined texts with over 300 detailed illustrations. The topics covered in Hortus Deliciarum are incredibly diverse. It includes theological texts, philosophical writings, scientific observations, poetry, and historical accounts. It details the creation of the world, human history, the nature of good and evil, and the sciences of the day. The book contains diagrams of the cosmos, medical illustrations, and depictions of biblical events. It even includes maps. This manuscript was not a simple prayer book. It was a vast storehouse of knowledge, reflecting intellectual curiosity and wide-ranging studies within the abbey. Herrad's compilation shows a deep engagement with the entire body of human knowledge, a project far beyond mere domestic concerns. It represents a monumental effort to organize and transmit knowledge across many disciplines. These examples reveal a vibrant landscape of female authorship in the medieval period. Women did not limit their minds to narrowly defined roles. They explored philosophy, politics, history, drama, science, and the very structure of the universe. Their intellectual curiosity knew few bounds. Their writings stand as testament to minds fully engaged with the complexities of their world. They broke free from any perceived constraints on their thought. Number 2. Mythwomen's writings were not widely known or influential. A persistent story suggests that any writings produced by medieval women existed in quiet corners, seen by only a few, and then faded into obscurity. This idea paints a picture of works largely ignored, lacking any true impact on the broader world. It claims their words held little sway beyond their immediate circle, if they circulated at all. The truth offers a different account. Many female authors from the medieval period found a wide readership. Their ideas traveled across lands. Their words inspired action, shaped beliefs, and even influenced the powerful leaders of their time. Their impact stretched far beyond the confines of a scriptorium or a single court. Christine de Pizan's works found an eager audience in royal courts and among the nobility. Her writings were commissioned by some of the most powerful figures in Europe. Queen Isabeau of Bavaria, wife of King Charles VI of France, commissioned the Book of the City of Ladies. The Duke Philip the Bold of Burgundy, and later his son John the Fearless, also commissioned her works. Earl of Salisbury, an English nobleman, ordered a copy of the Book of the City of Ladies, and King Henry IV of England received a collection of her writings as a gift. The widespread commissioning of her books shows a clear demand for her voice. Copies of her manuscripts proliferated. Over 50 manuscript copies of the Book of the City of Ladies exist today, a significant number for any medieval text. Her influence extended to England, where her works were translated. John Lydgate, an English poet, was inspired by her and translated parts of her work. Her advice on good governance, found in the Book of Peace, offered practical guidance to rulers. Her defense of women helped shape new ideas about gender roles and female intellect. Her writings clearly circulated among the elite, proving their significant influence in the political and cultural spheres of her time. Hildegard of Bingen's influence reached across Europe. Her visions and theological writings were widely disseminated. Popes, emperors, and abbots sought her counsel. As Pope Eugenius III confirmed the authenticity of her visions. This papal endorsement lent immense authority to her writings. Her correspondence with political and religious leaders shows her deep involvement in the affairs of the day. Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa sent her a letter seeking her blessing. She traveled to preach in public, an unusual act for a woman. Her musical compositions were performed and copied. Her natural history and medical texts were consulted by scholars and practitioners. The sheer number of surviving manuscripts of her works speaks to their popularity and lasting appeal. Her scholars continue to study her scientific observations, her theological insights, and her spiritual guidance. Her legacy continues to resonate centuries later. Her unique blend of spiritual revelation, scientific inquiry, and artistic expression made her a prominent and influential figure. Her words commanded respect and attention from the highest levels of society. Bridget of Sweden, a 14th century mystic, left a profound impact through her revelations. These texts, dictated by Bridget and recorded by her confessors, contained messages from Christ, the Virgin Mary, and saints. These revelations were not just personal spiritual experiences. They often included sharp critiques of the clergy, monastic orders, and secular rulers. Bridget called for reform within the church. She condemned corruption and injustice. Her message resonated deeply with people across social strata. Her revelations quickly spread throughout Europe. Copies were made and circulated in various languages, including Latin, Swedish, English, German, and French. Her influence was so great that she founded a new monastic order, the Brigittines. This order established monasteries in many countries, becoming centers of learning and devotion. Bridget's forceful advocacy for moral and religious reform reached powerful figures. She directly addressed kings, popes, and cardinals. Her words contributed to the ongoing discussions about the Avignon papacy and the Great Schism. Her spiritual authority and clear moral stand made her a powerful voice in a turbulent age. Marie de France, a 12th century poet, wrote Las, short, narrative poems exploring themes of love, chivalry, and adventure. Her stories were popular in aristocratic circles. Her lays, like Lanval or Chevrefoil, often featured fantastical elements and explored the complexities of human relationships. These tales entertained noble audiences. They also offered subtle social commentary. Her writing style was celebrated for its elegance and wit. Her works were copied and circulated in England and France. She influenced other writers, contributing to the development of Romance literature in the vernacular. The survival of several high-quality manuscripts of her works shows their value to their original readers. Her influence on the genre of courtly romance is evident. She shaped narrative forms and thematic explorations. Her poetic voice found a wide and appreciative audience. Julian of Norwich, a late 14th century English mystic, wrote Revelations of Divine Love. This work records her profound spiritual experiences, reflections on God's love, and her understanding of suffering and salvation. Her book, one of the earliest known English works by a woman, offered comfort and insight to many. It presents a gentle, loving God who is deeply present in all things, even in sin and pain. Her famous line, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well," has resonated through centuries. Julian's work was copied and passed down, becoming a significant text in English mystical tradition. Though she lived as an anchoress in solitary devotion, her spiritual message reached beyond her cell. Her ideas offered solace and profound theological insight to those seeking a deeper understanding of faith. Her influence can be seen in later spiritual writings and in the enduring appeal of her compassionate theology. These examples clearly show that the writings of medieval women did not remain hidden. Their words moved people. Their ideas provoked thought. Their influence stretched across social boundaries and geographical distances. Their works were read, copied, discussed, and acted upon. They shaped literature, politics, religion, and social thought, leaving an indelible mark on the medieval world and beyond. Number 3, myth women could not access books or learning. The story persists that medieval women lived largely unlettered lives. This narrative suggests they were denied access to books, to schools, to the very tools of intellectual growth. It paints a picture of a world where education remained almost exclusively for men, especially within the church or nobility. The idea claims that most women, regardless of their social standing, found themselves shut out from the halls of learning, from the quiet study of manuscripts. The truth reveals a different landscape. While opportunities varied greatly, many medieval women across different social classes found ways to read, to write, and to pursue knowledge. They built personal libraries, they learned in convents, they received private tutors. They actively participated in the vibrant intellectual life of their times. These convents served as significant centers of learning for women throughout the medieval period. For women who entered religious life, education was a core part of their daily existence. Nuns learned to read Latin, the language of scripture, theology, and most scholarly works. They copied manuscripts, preserving knowledge for future generations. They studied philosophy, history, and medicine. Hrotsvitha of Gandersheim, a canoness, had access to a rich library in her abbey. This access allowed her to study classical Roman playwrights like Terence. Her sophisticated Latin and knowledge of classical literature point to a rigorous education received within the convent walls. Hildegard of Bingen, another prominent nun, received instruction within her Benedictine community. Her extensive writings on theology, medicine, music, and cosmology demonstrate a profound and broad education. Her ability to synthesize such diverse fields of knowledge depended directly on her access to texts and scholarly discourse within the convent. These institutions functioned as intellectual hubs where women could pursue deep learning. Noble women often received education within their homes. Their families recognized the importance of literacy for managing large estates, overseeing households, and engaging in courtly life. Many noble daughters learned to read and write, often in the vernacular languages. Some also learned Latin, French, or other languages useful for diplomacy or cultural exchange. Eleanor of Aquitaine, a powerful 12th century queen of France and England, was known for her patronage of arts and literature. Her court fostered troubadour poetry and intellectual discussion. While direct evidence of her own writing is scarce, her deep involvement in intellectual and artistic life strongly implies a high level of literacy and engagement with books. She championed writers and works, showing a cultivated mind. The survival of many devotional books, books of hours, and romances owned by noblewomen points to their active participation in reading culture. These books often contain personal inscriptions or annotations showing a direct engagement with the texts. Some urban women, particularly those from merchant or artisan families, also gained literacy. Their families often needed them to help manage family businesses, keep accounts, or write letters. Marguerite Porete, a Beguine from the late 13th century, is a compelling example. Beguines were women who lived a semi-religious life without taking formal vows or living in cloister convents. Marguerite was literate and owned books. She wrote The Mirror of Simple Souls, a complex theological work in Old French. For her ability to write such a sophisticated text for a lay audience suggests a strong foundation in reading and theological thought. This example demonstrates that access to learning was not restricted to nuns or the highest nobility. Women outside traditional religious structures also engaged with deep intellectual pursuits. Christine de Pizan's life provides an excellent example of a secular woman gaining a formidable education. Her father, Tommaso di Benvenuto da Pisano, was a prominent scholar and astrologer who served King Charles V of France. He believed in educating his daughter. Christine learned to read and write. She had access to her father's extensive personal library, a truly rare treasure in that era. This access allowed her to immerse herself in classical literature, philosophy, history, and theology. She recounts her father's encouragement of her studies, despite her mother's more traditional views on female education. Christine's profound knowledge of classical texts, her mastery of rhetoric, and her ability to engage in complex literary and political debates all stem from this rigorous early learning. And she became a professional writer, supporting herself and her family through her literary work. Her success stands as a testament to the power of education for women in the medieval period. Heloise, the 12th century abbess and scholar, gained a remarkable education from her uncle, Canon Fulbert of Paris. She mastered Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, an extraordinary achievement for anyone, male or female, of her time. Her intellectual prowess was widely recognized. She exchanged scholarly and personal letters with Peter Abelard, a leading philosopher and theologian. These letters reveal a sharp, analytical mind and a deep understanding of theological and philosophical concepts. Her correspondence alone demonstrates an exceptional level of learning and active engagement with complex ideas. Her reputation as a scholar endured for centuries. The existence of numerous books of hours owned by women points to widespread female literacy. These were personal prayer books, often beautifully illuminated, that guided daily devotion. For a woman to use such a book, she needed to read. Noble and wealthy women frequently commissioned these books. The very existence and popularity of these books speak to a demand for literacy among women. These examples challenge the notion that medieval women lacked access to books or learning. Many women, whether in convents, noble households, or certain urban settings, pursued education and engaged with knowledge. Their intellectual pursuits varied. Their access pathways differed. Yet, across these diverse paths, women demonstrably read, studied, and contributed to the intellectual currents of their age. The picture of the unlettered medieval woman is a simplification, hiding a richer and more complex reality. Number 4, myth medieval female authors were almost exclusively nuns. A persistent narrative claims that if a medieval woman wrote, she almost certainly wore a habit. This story suggests that only the cloistered life, with its built-in literacy and solitude, allowed women to pick up a pen. It paints a picture of secular women, those living outside religious orders, as largely illiterate and uninterested in scholarly or literary pursuits. This idea implies that any significant female voice from the medieval period must belong to a nun, safely tucked away behind convent walls. History, however, tells a different story. While convents were indeed important centers of female learning and authorship, many women who lived in the secular world also produced significant written works. These women came from various social backgrounds. There were noblewomen, middle-class townswomen, pilgrims, and even single women who carved out independent lives. Marie de France, a 12th century poet, provides a compelling counterexample. The scholars generally believe she lived in a courtly environment, likely in England. She was deeply connected to the Anglo-Norman court, a place of vibrant literary activity. Her identity remains somewhat shrouded in mystery, but most historians view her as a secular woman. She wrote lies, short narrative poems, and fables, a collection of moral tales adapted from Aesop. Her lays often deal with themes of courtly love, chivalry, and adventure, firmly rooted in the secular aristocratic world. Her literary skills, her knowledge of French and Latin, and her storytelling prowess point to a woman who received an excellent education, likely within a noble household. She did not need the structure of a convent to hone her craft. Her poetry was intended for a lay audience for the entertainment and instruction of knights and ladies at court. Her position as a courtly poet shows a professional writer operating outside a religious order. Christine de Pizan, as previously mentioned, was a professional writer in the late 14th and early 15th centuries. She was a widow with children, a laywoman who supported her family entirely through her literary work. Her life was immersed in the secular world of the French court and the bustling city of Paris. She wrote for patrons, including queens, dukes, and counts. Her vast output included political treatises, histories, poetry, and defenses of women. She was not a nun. Her work was directly engaged with the political and social issues of her day, from the Hundred Years' War to the education of princes. Her ability to earn a living as an author, a truly remarkable feat for any person in the medieval period, let alone a woman, clearly demonstrates a vibrant secular female intellectual life. Her voice was not shaped by monastic vows, but by the challenges and opportunities of her life in the world. Margery Kempe, an English mystic of the early 15th century, lived a distinctly secular life as a married woman, mother of 14 children, and a businesswoman. She ran a brewery and a mill before dedicating herself to a life of intense religious devotion and pilgrimage. Margery was illiterate. She did not write her own book. She dictated her experiences and visions to scribes. This autobiographical work, The Book of Margery Kempe, is considered the first autobiography in the English language. It offers an extraordinary glimpse into the life of an ordinary laywoman. The book details her pilgrimages to Jerusalem, Rome, and Santiago de Compostela. It describes her intense spiritual experiences, her arguments with clergy, and her struggles with societal expectations. And Margery's story shows that even without formal literacy, women outside convents possess rich inner lives and stories worthy of being recorded. Her life and work defy the idea that only nuns had spiritual depth or intellectual capacity for significant narrative. Her dictated work shows a woman who actively shaped her own spiritual path and shared it with the world. Dorothy of Montau, a 14th century lay mystic from Prussia, provides another example. She was a married woman and a mother living a life of intense piety and devotion within her community. After her husband's death, she became an anchoress, a solitary religious recluse, but she did not become a nun in a conventional sense. She lived in a cell attached to a church. She experienced visions and received spiritual guidance. Her experiences were recorded by her confessor, John of Marienwerder, who wrote her biography. This account of her life and her spiritual insights, the Septillium, became an important spiritual text. Dorothy's spiritual authority and influence were significant in her region, all without her being a member of a formal religious order. Her story reflects the diverse spiritual paths open to laywomen and their capacity for profound religious experience and textual output. Many women, particularly noble women, wrote letters. These letters might discuss family affairs, manage estates, or engage in political correspondence. While not always intended for wide publication, they are written works. They reflect a high degree of literacy and practical intelligence. These letters are crucial historical sources. They shed light on daily life, political maneuverings, and personal thoughts. They demonstrate that writing was a practical skill used by many secular women to navigate their complex lives. These examples clearly show that the idea of medieval female authors being almost exclusively nuns misses a vast and diverse group of women. Secular women, from queens to townswomen to pilgrims, also picked up the pen or dictated their stories. They wrote on a wide range of subjects. Their contributions enriched the literary, political, and spiritual landscape of the medieval period, proving that female authorship was not confined to the cloister. Number 5. Medieval women rarely wrote anything of significance. A common misconception suggests that the voices of medieval women are faint, almost silent, in the vast tapestry of history. This idea claims that if women wrote at all, their contributions were few, minor, and of little lasting importance. It paints a picture of a historical period dominated by male intellectual and literary production, with female voices appearing as mere footnotes or fleeting anomalies. This perspective suggests that the sheer volume and depth of written work by women during the Middle Ages were negligible. The reality stands in sharp contrast. The medieval period witnessed a surprisingly rich and diverse output from female authors. Their works spanned centuries, covered a wide array of subjects, and displayed remarkable intellectual rigor and literary skill. Hundreds of names emerged from the historical record, along with thousands of surviving texts, defying any notion of scarcity or insignificance. The number of surviving manuscripts authored by women challenges the rarely wrote claim. While manuscript survival rates for any period are imperfect, a significant number of texts by women from the medieval era exist today. These manuscripts are housed in libraries and archives across Europe and beyond. They include theological treatises, personal letters, courtly poems, administrative documents, historical accounts, and visionary texts. The sheer volume of these surviving works indicates a consistent and ongoing tradition of female authorship. Each manuscript represents hours of intellectual effort, a dedication to ideas, and a commitment to written expression. These are not isolated instances. They represent a stream of creativity. The range of topics covered by female authors shows their widespread intellectual engagement. Women wrote on subjects that stretched beyond the domestic or the purely devotional. Hrotsvitha of Gandersheim composed Latin dramas in the 10th century. Her plays explored moral dilemmas and featured complex characters, demonstrating a mastery of a challenging literary form. Hildegard of Bingen, in the 12th century, wrote on theology, cosmology, medicine, and music. Her works were encyclopedic in scope, reflecting a mind that sought to understand and organize the entire world around her. She compiled detailed accounts of plants, animals, and the human body. Her musical compositions remain performed and studied today. Marie de France, in the 12th century, crafted sophisticated narrative poems, her Lace, which became influential in the development of Romance literature. Her fables showed a keen moral sense and storytelling ability. Her works were not just popular entertainment, they explored deep psychological and social themes. They shaped the very form of vernacular literature in her time. Christine de Pizan, living at the cusp of the medieval and early modern periods, built a professional career out of writing. Her prolific output included political advice, books for princes, biographies of kings, autobiographical poetry, and powerful defenses of women. Her Book of the City of Ladies remains a foundational text in the history of feminist thought. She engaged in public intellectual debates, showcasing her sharp mind and rhetorical skill. Her works were widely read and influential at the highest levels of European society. Marjorie Kempe, a laywoman from the 15th century, dictated the first autobiography in English. Her book offers a unique and invaluable window into the spiritual and social life of an ordinary medieval woman. Her experiences, struggles, and triumphs, as recorded by scribes, provide a deeply personal and significant historical document. It is not just a personal account. It is a work that captures the spiritual fervor and social tensions of her era. Other examples include anonymous works that scholars increasingly attribute to women. For instance, some of the Anglo-Saxon riddles in the Exeter book may have been composed by women, showing their participation in early literary traditions. The numerous Book of Hours, personal prayer books, often contained original prayers or devotional poems written by the women who owned them. These small personal touches show an active engagement with the written word. The significance of these works goes beyond mere existence. These women provided unique perspectives on their world. They challenged prevailing norms, they preserved knowledge, they shaped religious thought, they contributed to political discourse, they explored complex human emotions and relationships. Their voices were not just present. They were articulate, influential, and intellectually robust. Their texts offer invaluable insights into medieval society, culture, and spirituality. They illuminate a history that would be poor without them. The idea that medieval women rarely wrote anything of significance crumbles in the face of the vast evidence. From the intellectual powerhouses in convents to the courtly poets and the lay mystics, women left an indelible mark on the written heritage of the Middle Ages. Their works are neither scarce nor insignificant. They form a vital, vibrant, and intellectually rich part of our shared human story. Their pens shaped ideas, created art, and documented lives, proving that women actively participated in the creation of knowledge and literature throughout the medieval period.